going on, ladies and gentlemen? So today's topic is all about Facebook groups. And to talk about Facebook groups, I have someone that I highly respect and look up to in the space. Her name's Linda Reed Evner. I hope I got her name right. Anyway, the long story short is Linda runs a Facebook group in Facebook called Business, Business, Business. Now, as far as I'm aware, Business, Business, Business is an Australian business Facebook group. I think it's now gone past Australia, but the long and short of it is this is a Facebook group that started from nothing and is now at 33,000 people strong. It's one of the most engaging Facebook groups that I'm aware of. It's also a Facebook group that I may have connected to you who was watching this. I may have connected to you through that group. Now, as a result of taking part in that group, I've not only secured clients, I've also had people come along to my events that I've run in the past when I was doing social media education. And there's a lot of benefits of not only running your own group or being a part of a group. And in this video, we talk about, I asked Linda a whole bunch of questions about how she got the group started, some of the values and some of the things that she's doing. But probably the most astounding thing for me is the fact that she's 7+ years now that she's been running this group and she's been doing it consistently and she's been building a business on the back of this Facebook group. So this is a really cool interview. I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, roll the intro. Okay, and so today I have the amazing and beautiful Linda Reed Evner. Sorry, my bad. Just butchered your name.
Reed Evner.
my apologies, Linda. So I'm really excited about today's chat. Linda's someone that I've been connected with for quite some time. Very big fan of one of the groups that she runs on Facebook called Business, Business, Business. We'll obviously talk more about that. But Linda is a ideas marketing strategist, really helps people to understand their brand and really tap into their marketing, branding as a professional, to put themselves out there and everything else. So thank you so much for joining us today, Linda.
Oh, thanks for having me in.
Not a problem at all. So look, again, the biggest thing that I wanted to ask you some questions and obviously bring you on was because you don't just run any type of Facebook group. How many people are now a part of your Facebook group now to date?
I think we're sitting about the 33,500 membership base inside Business, Business, Business.
Yeah.
But guys, don't let that freak you out about Facebook groups because we've got smaller groups. I've got ones of 30 and 40, and then which are my intimate groups, and then I've got the Course Creator Circle, which is a slightly smaller group, but it's a more targeted version of what we do. But yes, Business, Business, Business is 33,000 members strong, and it is because small business owners need a space to hang out, and that's what we gave them.
Exactly. All right, cool. Now I'll go through some of the things that I love about it, and some of the things that have allowed me to connect to some really cool people, including yourself, Linda. But I've had the opportunity to connect to some people who I now call clients. I now either call friends. I've ran an event in Melbourne previously, a few events, and yeah. I've had people from the business group come just purely based on the connections that I've made and everything else. But I'd love to understand with a group of, did you say 33,000 or 34,000?
33. We're on our way to 34.
Yeah, it won't be too long. It won't be too long now. But just to give people some context, how long have you had this group open and running for? And how long have you been doing this for?
Okay, so the Facebook, the Business group has been running since 2014. So we hit our 7th year in February this year, which means that, I love it when people talk to me about, let's run a Facebook group and build 6 figures overnight and all of those sorts of things. However, if you don't actually have the foundations right and the skills right to do those sorts of things, then it takes a little bit of time, and Facebook groups take time to admin. They take time to grow. They take time to make sure you've got those foundations right. And rapid growth with Facebook groups is actually something I don't say to people you actually want, because rapid growth means that you can't manage the community, you can't manage the culture, you can't make sure that the people coming in actually respect the values of that group and that community. And we created business from the point of view of we wanted to do something different out there. We'd seen lots of online bullying happening inside Facebook groups. I didn't want to have that happening inside a group that we ran. We'd seen lots of stuff, lots of things happen inside other groups, lots of spam, lots of promo, lots of comment bait, lots of clickbait, lots of all the things that we don't do inside our space. And why that might upset some people, that's fine, because we are a group that does things differently. And we have been from the very, very start. We've been a community that does things just a little bit differently. Now we tend to be copied, and we tend to be, our community structures and focuses tend to pop up somewhere else. And that's great, because someone had to do it different first. Someone had to do it differently. But what it meant for us was when Facebook came back and said, these are the things that we expect of our people, and these are the things we expect of group admins, we weren't culture. We were actually doing, I suppose, what is right, Alan. This is what it comes down to. We were doing what was right by the people who are part of our community.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. And so what you're talking about, Linda, is obviously culture and building a set culture within your group, within your community, because for anyone who, most people who are on Facebook are generally a part of groups or generally a part of some sort of community. May not necessarily be business related. Yep. It could be their sports team or something to do with school or whatever the case is. But I think, and you can probably talk about this a little bit more as well, but I know from what I understand and from what I can see that Facebook has definitely favored groups and communities, because we obviously like to connect with like-minded people. We like to connect with people who share similar interests and values and things like that. And so what you've done over this course of a period of time is built a community of like-minded people, people who are in business, people, generally small business, I'm assuming, but it's business in general. And yeah, so I'd love to understand why you think it's grown the way that it has, and obviously culture and some of the things that you've put in there are important, but why is it important to be a part of these sorts of communities from your point of view? Okay.
Couple of reasons that I suppose it's important to be part of these communities. And we're only going to go back to this time, March last year, when COVID hit, and it hit big on March. I remember March 15 very, very well. That was our first lockdown, where everything started to go insane and COVID hit and all of those sorts of things. By the end of that week, that was a Tuesday, by the end of that week on the Friday, we were running seminars and trainings with leading experts on how to take your business virtually. What did it mean for you legally? What did it mean from an accounting point of view? How did you do things? I was messaging experts across the world, and had, people from London, people from Canada, people from the US, people from Australia coming in and teaching our community how to do those sorts of things. And for those of you who want to run a Facebook group, and this is most probably is going to be the question not a question I say, but I talk about this very often. Facebook, yes, love groups, but they love groups run well. Okay, so if your group's a spam fest, or if it's not moderated well, then keep on out with the Facebook page. If you don't have time to do that, and I mean don't have time to do that, I mean hours. We're not talking minutes a week. We're not talking 20 minutes a day.
Yep.
Even when I take weekends off, like this weekend, I still get private messages of, someone did this to me, and it is about that, and it's about understanding that while you might see something as petty, it's not petty to the member. It's not petty to someone else. And you've got to work out where that sits within your lifestyle. And if you can't deal with I thought this should be fine, or I should that would be fine, or why don't you do that sort of stuff, then you've got to have a tough skin to admin a Facebook group. And it's something that I don't let many of our team members come in and do, to be part of the admin or the moderation team, until they've had some time getting to work out who Clive and I are. Culture is the number one thing when it comes to business, when it comes to clients, when it comes to whoever you're working with. That's the space. We never set out to be a large group. We set out to do what we do, which is serve the people that work best for us, which is a community of a community of 33,000, but it's a community of support. It's a community of resources. It's a community that we don't run people down. And that's what's made us grow. There are many members, no, not many. There are people that have come in from time to time and who got under my skin and told me we should be running the group differently. I love it. I've had one earlier this week that told me the group's going to go nowhere and it's going to be dead. And I'm like, well, in 7 years, we'll most probably just discount your theory. But obviously it showed how little you valued or how little time you'd actually spent in the group because you didn't see how long we'd been running.
Yeah.
So it's the value that the groups bring to you as a community. And that's also what you put into it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Members who don't get stuff out of BBB don't participate.
Yeah.
That's as simple as it is. They don't join in conversations. They don't work with other people. They're all in the what's in it for me rather than educating their market, which is the one thing I teach everyone to do, and helping and supporting each other. And it's an incredibly supportive space.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what we're, and so like if you just focus on the word community, right, and you take away the fact that it's online, because sometimes obviously being online, people for some reason think that it's completely different to, being face-to-face.
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously it's a different platform. Obviously there's different dynamics. You may not be able to see someone face-to-face and everything else, but obviously it's still a community and we're still humans at the end of the keyboard, at the end of the screen, at the end of everything. And one of the things I really love about BBBs is the fact that obviously the dynamics of it is obviously there's good culture, very firm guidelines and values and things like that you're talking about. But it also very welcoming for people to connect, people to ask questions, people to offer help and other things. And it's genuinely a really good place to make great business connections. And I think you pointed something out just at the end of what you mentioned is really adding value and really looking into educate and answer questions. Because when I know for me, there's been someone who's asked a question and, there's potentially been a one-liner or a two-liner. I know that when I've taken the time to really think about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to put together what I think are 3 of the best things that they could do, right? I'm not just going to answer them in one line. I've written 3 or 4 paragraphs of what I think is going to really help them, maybe a resource, maybe a link or something to a tool or whatever else. And I've then had multiple people, not only the person who asked a question, but then other people then come back to me and ask questions and things like that.
The lurkers.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones who don't ask questions. Yeah. And that's the thing. You'll find that the lurkers, quite often when you're educating and you're doing those sorts of things, will come in and chat to you and come in and talk to you about all sorts of other things. I posted in the Thinkific group recently a resource for someone who similar to you, put in a detailed response, popped in the video that answered their question and said, here you go, here's the video that'll help you with that. If you've got any other questions, come back and watch. The comments I got on the video straight after posting that though, were from other people who were watching the same thread and the same problem. So the power of educating your market in Facebook groups is for the one person asking the question, there's at least 5 or 6 others watching it. And they're the people that you're talking about. And Alan, you brought up a really good point about there are humans at the end of this keyboard. Mm-hmm. That is the thing that we need to realize. In the world of social media, people quite often forget that there is a human at the end of what they're delivering.
Absolutely.
And we say, the reason, I can swear like an absolute trooper, but I know that swearing triggers off a whole heap of stuff inside BBB. So we've got that out there. We've got no name calling because no one deserves to be called a name. And all of those things are in place. And the amount of time that people that have a problem with those guidelines are the people that would not be part of our community anyway, because they're the ones that come back and they start throwing names at my team or throwing names. So just remember, there's a human at the end of everything. And when providing support, and this is one of our founding philosophies inside BBB, there is no stupid question, because at one stage you didn't know how to do this. Yeah. Whatever is second nature to you, or whatever you think is should be second nature to a business owner, or the community member or whatever it was. At one stage, we were all born and all we knew how to do was squawk, and we had to learn things along the way. So everyone is entitled to ask what they need to know to learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about communities, it's obviously not just talking about Facebook, is it?
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
talking about, all these different platforms.
And absolutely, not everyone has some time. So there's some questions you need to ask yourself before you want to run a Facebook group. And that is am I already overstretched? If you're already overstretched, forget it. Don't even try running a Facebook group. It's going to take way too much time out of your day. Just keep doing what you're doing and build your communities elsewhere. Build them on Instagram, build them on Facebook, build them on YouTube, build them on TikTok, wherever it is from there. We do have a Creating Communities with Facebook group, which runs through our processes and why do we do things and that sort of stuff, of course, that is out there. But the other question you need to ask yourself is, are you tough enough? Okay. Because it does take a tough skin to do this. Now, I've been in PR and marketing for 20 years. We say to people, don't read below the bylines, don't read the comments, don't read all of those sorts of things. It can get very personal, and it can get extremely personal when someone thinks that as an admin team, you've done something wrong. They will get under your skin from time to time, and that's fine, absolutely. But you do need to be tough enough to go, okay, they're not for us. Whereas if you're running your own Facebook page, or you're running your own Google profile, or you're running your own Instagram stuff, if someone posts something, comments something, you can just delete it. You don't even have to integrate. You don't even have to interact with them. You just go, oh, bye. But on a Facebook group, they feel like they have the right to private message you. They feel like they have the right to get your attention at any time of the day. I had one member in BBB originally say to me that I should spend 5 minutes with each new member who came in and explained the group guidelines. At that stage, I think we're at about 20,000 members, and I calculated that to being, okay, well, that's a full-time job for a new staff member, for a staff member coming through. So people have got different expectations about what your group should be. Stick to your guidelines, stick to your group, your community, your philosophy. And Ellen, you've seen it when I've done an admin rant, and I'll go, I don't care how many of you choose to leave on this area, because I would much rather have a community of 100 engaged people who support each other than thousands of people who do not support each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what actually got us to the 33,000, is we were prepared to stand our ground and go, no, not good enough.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think I just want to reiterate my appreciation for the work that you've done, because it does take a thick skin. It's you need to be emotionally prepared for what's about to come. And even in the 2 years that I've definitely not experienced what you have, Linda. But even while I was running my Facebook group, I definitely experienced, different people's opinions. And then obviously people who are looking to take advantage of the group and try and, do different things and everything else. And so for anyone who is, all right, here's where I'd love to go.
Okay, cool.
For anyone who is, a part of BBB or any other groups, what are some of the suggestions that you have for, I've mentioned a couple of things that have helped me to be able to generate business and other things. What are some of the things that you recommend you should do if you're looking to make the most out of a community?
It's really simple. It's not rocket science, guys. It is absolutely simple. Be polite, add value, be specific if you ask a question, and be specific with your answers. And don't make anyone else feel small because they've asked for something. And there will always, always, always be differing opinions. And there are differing opinions inside this Facebook group. And even Alan and I had a differing opinion where I turned around and in this podcast interview where I said, if you're running a Facebook group purely to make money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And he went, but why not? And it is about the opportunity about building a community. If you add value, you can pick up clients from Facebook groups.
Yeah.
You can pick up clients from different communities and it's not just Facebook groups. Think about Reddit, think about Discus, think about, this Quora. There are plenty of places out there that if you take the time to respond with an education, respond with a tone, respond with a little bit of compassion and understanding from where people are coming from, then people will engage with you, participate in the discussions, get involved in the conversations. You know, we have a rule in BBB that you cannot promote if you haven't joined in the conversations for the last 7 days. That gets rid of half the people who are trying to take advantage of the Facebook group, because we just go decline, decline, decline. But the reality of it is that's where we sit. Now, we went into post-approval very early last year. We weren't a post-approval based group until COVID hit. We used to be on the weekends to give our admin team a bit of a break, because alcohol on weekends and Facebook groups tend to generate a different type of person, and people would post and comment stuff that they wouldn't normally post and comment because their filters weren't there as easily. And from that point of view, I used to say to the girls, "Now, we need a break. We need a break here. We need to do this." So we went into post-approval on weekends. When COVID hit, Facebook became a lot more restrictive on what we were responsible for as an admin in relation to conversations about COVID-19. Now, I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but we had, you know, fake information, fake posts going left, right, and center. Those fake information or that hate speech or whatever was going to go through risked our group, okay? And it risked the community, not just for the one person posting, but for everyone. We are pretty lucky. I think in the last 3 years since community guidelines standard breaches on Facebook groups came in, we've had 2. But both times, the person who's done it, one was a typo and I really did feel for them, but we couldn't let that word appear inside the group and risk the group at that stage. The other one was someone who had come in with a whole heap of hate speech. And both of those things are there. And Facebook's got the algorithm to pick that up for us. Now, it didn't used to. You know, there used to be some shocking names you'd see people called inside the Facebook group. And it was a case of just making sure that we're there, but just add value and just be polite. And I can't say this anymore because the amount of times I've said, if you wouldn't say it to your grandmother, don't say it in the group. And then I've had multiple people come back and say to me, but I would say that to my grandmother. I'm like, oh, great. Thank you. Okay. If you wouldn't buy a front page newspaper and take out and spend the 10 to 15 grand on the headline, then don't say it in a Facebook group. If you wouldn't hire a truck with a megaphone, don't say it in a Facebook group. It isn't, once it's out there on social, it's hard to take back. Because there's people who screenshot stuff, do all sorts of things, and it is really hard to take back. But if you are nice about it and you add value to the group, and Alan, you've seen it, you don't have to run your own group to do that.
No.
You can participate and be very, very valuable. And pick 4 or 5 that you work in. You know, you don't have to be in every Facebook group. Pick 4 or 5 that you get value from.
Absolutely. And that's great advice as well. That's where I made the decision. And that group that I built, I think there was probably about 1,500 people in there, because I felt like I was really enjoying it. But like you said, Linda, it takes a lot of time, and where I actually seen the most value is where I did my videos. And so for me, that community is on YouTube. There's a few different things that I do on YouTube. And that's where I found my place. You know, it did take a little bit of testing and trialing and a couple of other different projects and things like that.
That's marketing.
Exactly. But exactly like what you talked about, Linda, you can create, like, at the end of the day, you don't have to go out and build your own group. Sometimes you can become a part of someone else's group. Make sure you're following the guidelines, make sure you really understand the direction, the values and things like that, and then contribute as much as you can that way. Because then it allows you to be able to not only participate, get value, make great connections, and potentially even generate some business if it's a fit, if, you know, it suits the person who you're connecting with at the same time.
You'd be surprised the amount of messages I get, Alan, from other Facebook groups that just are, "Hi, I saw your post. Can I take you up on that offer?"
Yeah, exactly.
And for 90% of the time, you know, I'm a big believer, and I know this sounds, there's so many people who say don't do your own discovery calls. So the reason I do my own discovery calls for 2 reasons. A, I want to see who the person is on the end of the phone and work out if I like them enough to want to work with them, because we're in a position here, we have enough internal projects, we're pretty lucky, that if we didn't want to work with them, we can fill our time with something else. The other thing that we have inside that space is I need them to know what it's like working with me. And people can see all the bright, shiny Facebook things. But the first thing I say to people is, if you work with me as a coach, I am going to make sure and ride you hard to do the work in between those sessions.
I love it.
And if you don't do those work in between those sessions, then I'm going to get a little bit cranky because we can't move you forward without it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I say that to people, I'm not nice. I will kick your butt until you do what you need to do.
100%.
If you need me, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So obviously, like we've talked a little bit about profiles and everything else. I was actually asking you prior to the interview, I was telling you that I'm obviously going to publish this on YouTube, and you were also telling me about a few other tools and tricks and things that you can use.
I was.
So I'd love to understand, like you've obviously got a lot of different marketing experience. So the first one that I was asking about is converting a YouTube video into a podcast, and you mentioned a platform.
There is a tool called Repurpose.io that'll take that video, strip the audio out of it, put it in Google Drive or Dropbox, and you're ready to go and then edit it up as a podcast.
Awesome. Now, I know that you've obviously got a few tools and tricks and things like that of your own. I think you mentioned, do you have, is it 5-minute cards, or what are your cards?
We've got the 5-minute marketing. We actually got 2 decks. We've got 3 and 4 coming out this year. They've got backgrounded from COVID. Okay, so we've got the Inspire, Engage, Connect deck, which you can use on social media. We've got the 5-minute marketing deck. Let's have a bit of fun. Let's pull out some cards.
Awesome.
Dropping cards. Right in front of the mic too, which is always good. Okay. So the whole process of these decks, so these are marketing decks that help you help you network. Now this one's actually quite cool because this one's Inspire, Engage, Connect. I'm going to try and get it up to the camera so it focuses.
Do a little referral networking.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see all the small talk. Okay, so ask your followers to tag their other favorite accounts in the comments of your posts. Yep. You can find some great people to be able to follow a network. So good for Instagram. Go out there, pop an Instagram post about who else should I be following on Instagram? Tag your favorites below. How quick and simple is that? But what has it done? You've inspired someone to take action. You've got gained a connection, and you are growing your following, which is what social media is about, which is all about inspiring, engaging, and connecting. So that deck's full of tips like that one.
Awesome.
5-minute marketing is the same. We are business owners. We have the amount of clients that I have say to me, I don't have time to market my business. I don't have time. 5 minutes adds up really, really powerfully. Okay, so let's pick one out. Now, I have I do the card shuffle, but I have clients who literally just make their way through these cards on a regular basis. Okay, this is a good PR one. So
the news makes news. Awesome.
Okay, and it does, because the journos are already on the path of that story. So the news makes news. So take a look at what's already, if you want to build PR and build your profile through that way, take a look at what's already being said in the paper. It might be your next release idea for this time next year, or it might be that you can add another point of view, and then you can shoot a quick little pitch through to that journalist that says, hey, I've just seen you've done a story on this. Have you considered this angle? Or I know about this angle on that story, and you're able to add something. Or you can even pitch a story to a publication or an outlet, but the news makes news. So if it's already in the news, look at how you can write a blog about it, do a video about it, go live. There's so many things that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, if someone's interested in grabbing one of those decks and everything else, where can they go?
Head straight to my website. So lindareedenova.com.au. It covers 90% of what we do, including the projects as such as the Course Creator Circle and business. And just one step at a time, educate your market, work with your people slowly but surely. You will get through. You will get through this area. And as we've said before today, Facebook groups aren't for everyone. Yeah. It's fine to work out that it's not. Yeah. Yeah. It's more hard work to keep running one if you don't want to.
Exactly right. And I think just to reiterate, like what we've talked about a lot as well, is it's so important to build that community and make it a welcoming place that people can come in and ask questions and other things. Because I don't think we've talked about this particular specific point, but once you create that community, once you set the area or the platform and give people the opportunity to have a voice, it then encourages them to bring their friends, their community, and other people, as long as they obviously fit the guidelines, they fit. I
can pretty much tell when an NDIS instructor is, not NDIS, a NICE instructors run the NICE program, because we get my NICE mentor advised me to join this Facebook group.
There you go.
And you get those referrals and you get those opportunities out there, but it's a great way for people to refer to you.
Yeah.
And a Facebook group is a great step in the water.
Yeah.
For people to get to know you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so obviously by consistently building that community, adding value, your profile is obviously building during that period of time. If you're obviously running the group, if you're an active part of that group and you're consistently adding value or looking for opportunities to answer questions and other things, you're just
building.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Look, thank you so much for your time, Linda. I really appreciate it. I know we have gone quite over, but was there anything else that you wanted to leave us with, or anything else that you'd like to finish this conversation on?
The best return on investment in marketing is education, and that's where Facebook groups allow you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again so much for your time. Send my best wishes to Clive and all the best during lockdown and everything else. We're obviously
lockdown 7.
Yeah, I know.
We're in regional Victoria, so we count the last one. This is lockdown 7 for us.
Yeah. Look, we obviously haven't had as much time in lockdown, but we're definitely enjoying week 7 or 8 in lockdown at the moment. Unfortunately, we're all in this together. All right. But really appreciate your time. Really good to connect. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Alan.